So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the February koha-US General Meeting. Jennifer couldn't make it today, so let me get the agenda and I will put that in the chat. So there's our agenda. Do we have any announcements?
I have two videos, so I'll be uploading somewhere, so Jason, you can download them and put them up somewhere if you would like. That's what I did Monday.
Very good. Well, my announcement is about International Book Giving Day. And not only is February 14th Valentine's Day, but it is International Book Giving Day. And if you want to learn about it, there's a link. Okay, so our first item, we talked about this at the board meeting. Christopher said it would be good to normalize the group email identifiers in the subject line. Christopher, do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, just anytime we've had emails from different groups, different SIGs or group communications, the subject line has varied a little bit. And I found that anytime that we've had an identifier in the square brackets in the subject line, that makes it really easy to identify. It makes it easy to create rules for. I think it's more friendly and a little more straightforward as to who it's coming from. So I had suggested that we keep an identifier in the subject line at the beginning of each subject line, and we make them more consistent. So it's going to start off with koha-US, and koha is always going to be lowercase, but it's koha-US and then the name of the group within those brackets. So that's going to provide more consistency so we can identify what group we're getting that from. And if we have to create new rules, it makes it a little bit easier.
So I went through and I think I got all instances of it, but if anybody ever finds one that's coming through and it's not like that, you can let me know and I'll be glad to update it.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I think that was a really good suggestion. We also talked a little bit about our koha-US Google Drive, and that it's a little difficult to locate things in there. Everything is just kind of in that one place. And so there was some talk about, Lauren and Jennifer said they would look at that and see if there's a way to maybe create folders or put some more organization. So if you're ever going in there and wanting to find something, you're not wading through tons of stuff. So we're going to be looking at that. And then we had a long discussion on koha-US goals and sustainability of the organization. We talked about membership, and membership being one of our, increasing membership being one of our prime goals. Membership has dropped partly due to the pandemic. Membership tends to increase toward the middle of the year as we get into the conference. I think right now we have like 29 members perhaps. So we've talked about, how can we increase membership? We talked about, anybody else that was at the board meeting also jump in if you've got something.
I can add to that.
Yeah.
It's just, with the pandemic, we, and even prior to the pandemic, we did some hybrid conferences, and those conferences are great. I am all for the hybrid conference, especially for those that can't do the traveling. But one of the things that we've done with that hybrid is if you were attending online, you were not paying. And what, koha-US has some goals. We have goals to do collaboration. We have goals to pay for developments, and we have a couple sources of income. We've had some fundraising. The fundraising has helped, but our main sources of income are our membership and our conference registration fees. Those fees help feed our ability to do developments and also cover costs in those conferences. We're shooting ourselves in the foot by offering, you have to pay for registration if you actually attend in person, and it's free if it's online. I feel that we need to work on our, if we're going to maintain our goals of development and doing these conferences, we need to rein in this, what's being paid for, and we need to make that more consistent, whether it's hybrid or in person. I think that we need to shift towards, if you're attending online or in person, you're paying that registration fee. We have to make membership meaningful. And if we're just giving everything away, then why would anybody want to be a member? There needs to be better incentives, and we need to make those more consistent and solid with the organization if we're going to be able to maintain our goals and what we do.
So any thoughts?
I think one of the things that I would say is that it seems to me that the one of the solutions is to develop other avenues of income if we're concerned about income. We've had a couple of donations, but not many that are just out of the blue donations. If there was a way to increase donations, that would be one way of generating more income. I think overall, though, I think the reason that it's hard to, Todd was the chair of the fundraising committee for such a long time. And the thing that I felt like the reason that the fundraising committee never got off the ground is because there was never any specific goal for this is what we're raising money to do. It was never, this is a development that we're working on and we're trying to raise money to do this development. It was always, vague about, we're trying to raise money to make the organization better. There was never any specific goals tied to fundraising. And so I think that, as far as trying to raise donations go, that would be helpful to actually have specific, very concrete, specific goals for what to do for raising money. As far as increasing as far as for increasing membership, I think one of the issues has to be, in order to increase membership, we would need to increase participation. I see 13 people in this room right now. And so how many of us are members? So if there were 30 people in this room and they all raised their hand, then it would be a different story. So I think that's an issue to think about too.
I agree. It would be great to have more consistent participation within these general meetings. I mean, we only have this meeting once a month. However, I don't think, this is the only avenue that, membership should have its privileges. You know, in fact, you know, this meeting is general and open to the public. You know, I wonder if we need to discuss whether membership covers things like special interest groups. You know, we do have participation within different groups, and I know that there are some people that participate more in those special interest groups than they do in the general meeting. I think that, you know, our membership, I think that's an area that is key that we need to focus on. I think we need to make it clear what you're getting with the membership. Right now, membership feels mostly like a discount for conference registration if you're attending in person. If not, then it's moot. And membership is voting privileges, and we vote on a couple things in a year, maybe. I think that we need to develop what membership means and what membership has access to. You know, we can give away a lot, but if we're giving away a lot, then we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot as to, you know, what your membership brings you. You know, we have to have incentive for, you know, people becoming members. And if we're just giving everything away, then it really makes membership moot. You know, we want to be able to give our members something, you know, for their money. And right now, I don't feel like that membership, you know, is completely worth it at this moment. I think that we could possibly, you know, we've talked about making sections of our training portion of our website for members only. I think, you know, there are things that we can do to make that more appealing for membership, and I think we should. You know, I think if we focus on getting the membership up and, you know, take care of that, I think that's going to take care of a large portion of the funds. You know, we're not necessarily driven by funds. You know, we'd like to be able to fund different developments with the funds that we bring in, but, you know, we're about community, we're about collaboration, we're about training. So it's not just about making funds. I think it's a great idea, George, you bring up something. I think that if we are working on a development and we don't necessarily have all the funds, or, you know, while we're working on that development, maybe we could, you know, encourage people, hey, would you like to be, you know, noted as somebody that helps sponsor this development? Would your library like to, you know, contribute towards this? This is what we're working on. We can promote that and encourage people to donate above what the organization is putting into it. So, you know, those are some ideas that might help, you know, bring in more funds on that. But, you know, I've felt a little standoffish about getting into the whole fundraising arena ever since it was brought up. I'm not comfortable with fundraising, not to say that it doesn't have a place, but I've always felt uncomfortable with it. I don't like begging for money for things, but I don't mind at all throwing the word out there and encouraging people, hey, be a part of this, get your name on this development, you know, forever be a part of, you know, a piece of Koha with your library, and, you know, contribute in ways that you can. So I don't mind doing that. I just, you know, I'm cautious about fundraising. So
The other issue with fundraising is that it is incredibly work intensive. And all of us have jobs. All of us are already volunteering. Those of us that are on the board in any capacity or running one of these special interest groups already have a lot to do because it's a significant time commitment in addition to your regular work. We had Todd's relative dedication because that was something he was instructed specifically to help assist us with. And the problem became Todd had all these great ideas, but they all took time and none of us had the time to donate. So there's the comfort level that Christopher mentions, but it's also the time. We don't have money to hire dedicated fundraisers. We have barely enough money to do what we want to get done. And it's a combination of the comfort factor and time that really work not just against us, but really work against any charity of our size and construction.
Any other thoughts? I struggle because I'd like to see more members. But I also can see that we could be creating a barrier for some, even though it's only $25. It seems like, that seems like a no-brainer, like, just put your support in for $25 and be a member. But I also see, like, if we, restricted special interest groups to just members or that kind of thing, that we're sort of, I don't know, not allowing everyone to participate. So I can see both sides of this, and part of me is like, yes, it seems like, if we're having the online conference, or if we're having the hybrid conference and people attend in person, obviously they're paying like we've been doing all along. And then this last year we had our McKinney conference, and a lot of people were able to get access from afar, and they didn't have to pay. And so that's really great for them. It's maybe not as great for the organization because you're not getting your conference fee out of it. So I'm torn. Part of me thinks just, I don't know, get rid of membership altogether and just have it be open and just, I don't know.
How have we ever said that, for people attending online, there's a suggested donation? Because I didn't go in person, but I make a donation. So
I wouldn't be opposed to us having a smaller registration fee for online attendance. Obviously they're not taking part in the stuff there and consuming any of the snacks or increasing the demand on the facility or whatever. But I think a discounted rate for online wouldn't be horrible, but
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea. I think the Medical Library Association offers a lower rate for attending online.
I'll
Yeah,
just
I
add
think,
that or go ahead, Heather.
oh, okay. I was just gonna say, I think that's totally fair. And then the people who have paid to attend, I think it's fair that they be the ones to attend, and then the recordings could be put up for everyone to enjoy after the fact for free. And part of the conference could be open without registration, maybe the special SIG meetings open to all. I mean, you could have part of the conference be the benefit of paid attendance and part open. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. But Jason?
Yeah, so I was just going to say there are some probably major logistical considerations to make if we're going to cut off online participation or wall it off by payment, because right now the way that we've done it has been streaming it out to YouTube for everyone to see. We could make that private and only send the private link to those who registered. But there's some technological consideration there. Also, I think we need to think about who we're cutting out if we're going to start putting up paywalls, and how that's going to look, because the US has had a history with Koha. We've had the villain light put on us before, so we don't want to necessarily exclude the larger community, especially when they have always done conferences as a free registration. If we start especially, I don't like the idea of like walking back SIGs and stuff. I don't like walking back things that we're already offering and locking them down. But even the conferences, like of course, the people from New Zealand and France and stuff aren't going to come to our koha-US conference in person. So being able to have that available and have that sort of community going on in the chat on the side is really nice. It's nice to see Chris pop in. It's nice to see Katrin in the chat interacting with us. And I think that if we start charging for that, we're going to lose some of that. So I guess that's where I'm coming from.
And I agree with that too. That's why I say, maybe be more aggressive about suggesting donations. Take more of a PBS approach or an NPR approach than an NBC watch the Olympics on Peacock, only $29.99 a month or whatever the hell they fucking charge for Peacock.
How about free online to members? And if you're not a member, you have to click through 10, 20 fundraising screens.
I like that idea. Or if you're not a member, you get 500 pop-ups like there used to be for porn, when you'd be in youth services in the library and a kid would click on something incorrectly and all of a sudden there'd be 50 windows with women in leopard skin leotards.
I don't know anything about that, George. How do you?
Because I worked in a library in the youth services department where a kid was looking for books on cheetahs, and all of a sudden there's 500 pictures of a woman dressed like a cheetah with no top on the computer screen.
All
And he
right.
was terrified. He was like 8 years old. It's like, what the hell did I do?
Yeah, even in a medical library, when I got here in 2005, the computers were almost unreadable or unusable because of all the pop-ups. Could we get pop-ups? I mean, I hate the idea, but
Yeah, Jason, I'm just on the fence. I agree. I would hate to pull back on some stuff. I think we need to really weigh and consider the online attendance part of the conference. But I understand pulling back on the SIGs. It's just I'm throwing out suggestions, spitballing things, and maybe we don't do that. Maybe it's we're revamping the whole mentorship thing. We're turning it into something else. Maybe that part of it is you have access to that through membership, and we brainstorm some other elements that is going to be added on that is membership only, and maybe we maintain the content that we currently have for free to the public. I welcome ideas, and I hear your concern, and it's certainly a concern of mine. I don't want to alienate people that we've already established relationships with, but I do want to be able to give people a reason to become members, and I do want to give them value for their membership. And so that's something that I think that we as a group have to come up with and figure out, because I don't see us sustaining what we're doing the way we're doing it right now.
So just out of curiosity, how much is the God, just the conference. How much is it to attend the conference?
I think the most we've ever charged was, I want to say $50, 55, something like that.
55 for, and that's the non-member rate. Members,
Yeah.
for the past several years paid 35.
I think the one in Erie was 100.
I mean, having that cost for online, I don't see why that's not reasonable. And for that matter, the voting on development, is that tied to membership, or can anybody vote on that?
That is tied to membership.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's what I was about to suggest is Nichols has just recently hired a new consultant named Shelley. And one of her major functions here is working with libraries. She has a background in fundraising. And so why don't I talk to Shelley and see if she would be willing to talk to the board? Because maybe if we had somebody who's a fundraising expert, they might have some ideas about ways that an organization like this could generate more income, if that's one of our goals. So I'll put that on my to-do list to talk to Shelley and see if she would be willing to meet, probably just starting off just with the board, to see if there are any ideas. Because I think, I think the key, we're thinking in terms of conference attendance and membership as the drivers of income, because that's all we've ever had. For all we know, there are other avenues out there that we haven't thought of, because how many of us are fundraising experts? How many of us have ever had a job in fundraising? I'm not seeing anybody's hands go up. So I think maybe that would be a good idea, to talk to somebody that's been their job for the last 10 years, is doing nothing but working with organizations to help raise money. So why don't I do that? Does that sound like a good idea?
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I have no background in fundraising, don't know how to do it. Always sense that it takes a lot of work.
Want to do it.
And I was going to say, I think for this year, we have another element that comes into play, and that is our koha-con bid that we put in. And it's really just us having our conference and saying we'll incorporate, koha-con into it, so to speak. But I think that really sort of bars the thought of having an online fee if we're saying we're going to have it be, have koha-con be part of our koha-US conference. I think my understanding is that's supposed to be no charge. Is that true?
Koha-con has never charged a fee for their conference. The international community has never charged a fee for their conference. And I posted a link to the proposal that we put on the wiki into the chat box.
Yeah.
The really sticky point to this is if we have koha-con be a part of this, then whether they're attending online or they come in person, we can't charge anything. And that's gonna hit us this year if we do that. I like the idea of being able to help, but that hits koha-US in an area that hurts our goals. I don't want koha-US to be about money. I don't want it ever to be about money or funding. If we have the funds to take care of a development, great, but that is something that we definitely have to consider, taking on a group that has been traditionally, we don't charge.
The
I
other,
can't see us charging our people and then not charging
Yeah.
the rest of the world.
so the other deal with KohaCon, if it happens, is sponsorship. That's something that we haven't really ever encountered as koha-US, but the conferences, the KohaCons are always backed heavily by sponsors, and I think that the conference committee needs to focus in on that. If we do end up taking on KohaCon, we need to focus in on getting those sponsorships from the vendors and stuff so that we can pay for it and not take a hit.
If we have the conference in Lawrence, Nichols is already committed to paying up to $1,000 for the venue, because that's what the venue that we would have if it's just koha-US would cost. But I don't think that it would be an issue to tell the people in the international community, whoever wants, whoever's involved in Koha, that we're putting on this conference, and any donations would be appreciated. And to actually say, this is one of the ways every year that we try to raise money to help fund developments that we're interested in doing. And so, if you donate, the money goes back into Koha. So.
And Bywater, when they hosted in Portland, they have that information all put together on the Portland site still, so we can reference that as far as the sponsorship levels and sort of what they get for sponsoring this type thing.
George, did you determine if you're able to facilitate KohaCon joining in?
You mean the venue size?
Yeah.
I figure we'll wait until we're finished voting on whether it's going to be in person or online, because we still haven't determined whether this is an in-person conference or an online conference. I've got I'm putting the membership list into SurveyMonkey now, because at the end of this meeting, I'll send out the survey for voting to the koha-US members of whether or not this is a in-person conference or an online only conference.
I know that traditionally we vote on things and for the conference, especially choices on the conference. And we've had some discussions, and I've been a little back and forth, but my feeling right now is that I would prefer that we didn't do just a online only. I would prefer that we had the hybrid version.
I'd prefer that too. What I recommend is that you get everybody at Coeur d'Alene Public Library to join koha-US and vote for that. That would be an increase in membership and an increase in revenues. So.
There you go.
I've got 2 votes from DC for hybrid.
I mean, that's how we ended up in Texas last time, was that everybody. Well, that's how we didn't end up in Texas two times ago when we went to Pueblo, was because there were 2 proposals from Texas, and it kind of split the Texas vote. I think a lot of people from Texas joined so that they could vote, and then half of the people from Texas voted for Round Rock, and the other half voted for McKinney, and we ended up in Pueblo.
I voted for Pueblo.
I voted for, I think I voted for Pueblo, but the last time Lawrence submitted a proposal for Lawrence, Robin submitted a proposal for Lawrence, Kansas, I voted for, I think it was Vermont, because I'd never been to Vermont, but I'm in Lawrence all the time. What's the fun in? There's no travel, there's no staying in a nice hotel when you're staying at your own damn house.
So the question is, do we want to have the online only option on voting, or do we need to vote, or do we need to vote about something else, or what do we need to do about this?
Maybe that's a conference committee discussion, because that committee happens after this meeting. But I've already put together the survey. It's what we talked about last time. So, so it seems like, you know, today is the day that voting's supposed to start. It seems like maybe that was a discussion that should have happened last month when we agreed to do the online, to have the choice between Lawrence or online only. How many members are there? It was like, I just loaded it in my browser.
I think it's 29, maybe.
And we're now up to 31.
Oh,
31.
nice.
So all we need 16 people to vote for Lawrence.
And we have 13 here, right?
I think I'll vote for online only. It sounds like a lot less work for me.
And I will definitely not vote for online only, because that sounds a lot like a lot more work for me. So
Yeah, I'm sick of online only conferences. Even
So am
if I'm only driving a mile across town to Lawrence Public Library, that's still better than sitting in the garage at my house and watching a computer screen for 8 hours.
Barbara, I
am
gotta
not
step
doing-
away for just a second.
I am
Also,
not doing anything online only anymore. I've had it with online.
Also, I missed the deadline where I was supposed to send out like a week's notice to the membership that there was an upcoming vote, and that got past me, so I have not done that. So does the board want to censure me for, or do we just ignore that? Do I need to send out something and then George send out the survey? Do we have?
You,
Well, the-
you are
the
forbidden
nice
to get any
thing-
alcohol at our next meeting.
Anyone got
The
a
nice
roll of
thing about-
newspaper?
The advantage of doing this with SurveyMonkey is that I put all the email addresses into SurveyMonkey, which Neckel subscribes to SurveyMonkey, which is why we have access to it. And then that way we know who's voted and who hasn't. So it prevents people from voting twice or trying to sneak in an extra vote or whatever. But I think that the rules say we have to have voting open for a week. I think that's what the bylaws say.
So yeah, the bylaws say that notice has to be sent at least 1 week prior to the vote opening, and then polls have to remain open at least 1 week following the vote.
So we could push it back until next week, because I think we had it scheduled to go until
The end of the month.
the 23rd. So we could push the voting back. That means I won't be able to send it out today. Yeah, you should send an email out. I think the steps here are that Barbara should send out an email today saying that the voting starts on the 16th. And that I should set up SurveyMonkey then to send this invitation to vote out to the members list on the 16th, and that the voting should stay open until February 28th at least, because that gives us a little bit more than a week. Traditionally, we say it has to be open for a week, and we usually give 2 weeks. We could push it all the way to March 2nd, but I think the Koha community meeting where they're going to discuss KohaCon 22, I think that's on the 2nd. So it'd be nice to know where koha-US is. Yeah, the IRC meeting is Wednesday the 2nd at 9 a.m. and I was planning on going to that because by then we'll have an idea of which way the vote has gone. Yeah, because we were going to close the voting on the 23rd. So
I'll send out the email. Do I send this to just members?
Actually, if we're looking to get new members
I was
to,
wondering.
yeah, then it should probably just go to the koha-US list and maybe even the community list.
Okay, so all of koha-US. And community list is what email is that?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. It's the
one that has like a typo in it.
Yeah, okay. So I can send that out that it's an upcoming vote, and that if you haven't joined yet, I can put the link in for joining. And it'll open on the 16th and close on the 28th.
Yep.
That way I
And-
won't get smite upon or smote upon for having missed the.
That way we won't have violated our own bylaws.
Yes.
John put the koha-US list in there. I'm looking for the address for the community list. Here it is. I finally found it. That's the community
Yeah,
list.
okay.
So I guess I can close Survey Monkey. I don't have to do this part today. I was all set to have it go right when we said the meeting's over.
Okay. So are we done with speaking about goals, sustainability, and the 2022 conference until the conference committee meets and talks at more length? Anybody else have anything to say? All right.
Excuse me. When just thinking, if when someone registers, you could send them a note saying, "We strongly urge you to contribute at this or this level if you're not a member." I think it was in Portland. It urged individuals to donate, to be part of the subscription book. And is that where they had the banners saying who donated? Yeah, Lisette
Mm.
and I were on there.
I think we pulled people privately into back alleys too.
Yeah, it took a while for my nose to heal, but I guess it was worth it for the good of the not party. Never.
One other thought I did have about membership, and I don't know whether it would really increase membership or not, but it would be another potential perk, is to offer like a small conference stipend, like $200 or $250 to offset your travel to come to an in-person conference if you were a member. And I don't know how that would be chosen, but that's something I've seen in some other organizations.
Like a lottery?
I don't know. Could do it that way, could have people apply out of need and review their application, but that's a lot more work.
How many people here does your job pay for your membership in an organization like this? Am I the only one? Oh, okay.
My job doesn't pay for my membership, but pays for my travel.
Mine pays for both.
Well, they pay for my Medical Library Association membership, but I'm sure about COA, and I've never. $25 isn't going to kill me.
My job pays for my travel unless it's too close, such as McKinney, which was under 50 miles from where I am. So we had to have the friends pay. We decided to stay there because we didn't want to drive back and forth, even though it's under 50 miles. That's crazy traffic every single day. And I live another 20 miles further away. So we had the friends pay for a Airbnb so that we could just stay there.
Could just rented a helicopter.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we need to move on then to committee reports, and I don't think there's anything else to say now about the conference until we have our conference committee meeting, really, unless anybody else has anything. Development, can you update us, Christopher, on where development?
Yeah, the developers are pretty much finished with the patch. They're going to be demoing it next Friday on the, I think it was this Friday. Yeah, this Friday with the development committee. And so we're going to review it. And if we're all good with it, then they will submit it for Q&A and we'll go forward from there.
And I unfortunately have a conflict, so I may not be able to be there. Okay, Education Committee, George.
We had our first Education Committee of 2022. The meeting was on January 19th. We talked about, what does this committee want to accomplish in 2022? And we came up with 2 goals as, half of we're going to try and focus half of the activity of this group on developing our website to make it easier to find things and to find a better way to host and store our educational stuff on the website, and just organizing the content of the website and managing the website. And then a half of the future work of this group will be to focus on content development for that website. And Jason has already started reorganizing the site, and we okayed him to continue that. We talked about mentorship, and Christopher was going to coordinate with John Sterbenz about adding questions to the membership form. And we had a long discussion, partly in the meeting and partly a ridiculous email exchange about what we should call mentors. It became, there were like 50 different choices, and I don't remember what we finally decided on. Christopher would know.
Yeah, I actually said, hey, George, you're the chair. You get to make the call.
And did I ever respond to that email?
You did, and I'm looking at your response right now. It's in one of 2 places here. Let's see.
It was something along the line of Koha collaborator.
So here, what did you tell me?
Emailed George that my link didn't work, but he never got back to me, so I didn't get it.
Must be in the other group here.
So just for that, I'm going to add another suggestion, which is Koha cubed.
You.
No.
Well, we've heard of Koha squad. This takes it up 1 level to cubed.
No, George, you had decided koha-US skill collaborators.
That sounds good. So mentors will become koha-US skill collaborators.
And do you want to share with the group what the basic idea of that is?
The basic idea was that, mentors, we've always tried to pair people like, this person will be your help for all things Koha, and the idea is to kind of break it up. So when somebody has a question about reports, to pass them along to a koha-US skills collaborator who is an expert in reports, rather than just trying to pair people as, you're my overall mentor. It's like, who can be helpful about reports, who can be helpful with cataloging, who can be helpful with acquisitions, and so on. So that was the idea there. Then we talked about some possible upcoming webinars, and we talked about reference sheets. And that's kind of where my notes end. So I think that must have been the whole meeting. And our next meeting, I guess we didn't, our next meeting is Wednesday, February 16th. And I will put it on my agenda to send out a reminder about that meeting today. And send it to the correct mailing list this time, instead of sending it to the wrong mailing list a week ahead of time, and then to the correct mailing list as the meeting was starting.
At least you got it out a week ahead of time. Okay, finance, John.
We'll go through the regular monthly report fairly quickly. 29 members as of the end of January. We are now actually officially up to 31, and all work related to 2022 membership is complete. There are still a few outstanding invoices out there, including some that I'm really actually kind of surprised are still out there, but that's not my problem, that's theirs. Receipts went out this morning, and so anybody that has paid for 2022 membership, everything related to that membership is now complete. If you believe you are a 2022 member but don't have a receipt, that means I didn't get things from you, and you are welcome to contact me for further information. Financially, we are still doing pretty well. You'll notice a little bit of expense in January. That's our annual TechSoup authorized renewal form, and then the remainder of that is for the actual Zoom room itself. And anything you see here with regards to income is related basically to membership and the payment of 2022 memberships. We'll talk about the annual report in just a second. I'm working on procuring the small press table. It's called something slightly different now, but that's what it was called for the 2 years in Chicago. The cost for that is estimated to be around $1,100. That's actually a slight decrease from what we had paid in Chicago, and I'll have an update about that at the next board meeting. Jennifer errantly included a link to the budget, not the annual report, and its document in the agenda. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat as part of this links to the annual report. And I got to move everything all over the place again. Let me get, this is the annual report document that I am about to put into the chat. If I got to open chat, there's chat. So this is the link to the annual report. And then let me get you the link to the final financial report. And here's the link to the final financial report. These two documents work in conjunction with one another. The annual report is lots of words. The final financial report is lots of numbers. Some highlights, these are found on page 2 of the annual report itself. Excluding the Spring into Fitness event, which raised just shy of $1,800, the organization raised $3,945 over the course of the last calendar year. Throw in Spring into Fitness, and that's about $5,735. Expenses continue to remain relatively low. Operational expenses were $1,140 for 2021. $574 was placed into cash reserves, and a total of $5,221.15 were added to the discretionary coffers. But I do note very specifically that $1,200 of that was the ALA refund, and that's already been earmarked for expenses for this year's ALA event, leaving the total discretionary amount from 2021 activity at about $4,021. If you go all the way down to the end document, the end of the annual report document, there's what I call the categorization table of the bank account, which lists all of the various balances and provides our final bank balance for the year. We've got a base balance of $500, which is the minimum balance required by PNC Bank to avoid any monthly fees. We had an existing cash reserve of $1,254, added $574 to it in 2021. We had an existing discretionary balance of $4,542, added $4,021.15 for 2021. The ALA space appropriately marked, and we did use $1,000 in discretionary funds. That was the first of 2 payments to Auto Parallel Technologies for the voted on development by members, giving us a end of membership year balance of $11,091.92. There's a lot more detail broken down by quarter in the final financial report. If you'd like to go ahead and take a look at that, you're more than welcome to. If there's all sorts of numbers in here, and I've been keeping these numbers now basically for 5 years. 5 years is as long as I'm going to maintain this information in the annual report here. So next year, 2017, will get dropped off, and we'll just have the 5 years worth of data. But all of this information is always available to the board. If anybody at any time has any questions about the annual report, or the final financial report, I'm glad to assist in their interpretation and to answer any questions that anybody might have if you happen to think of them. But right now, I'd like to take the chance to see if anybody has any questions. And I realize that with Jennifer providing the wrong link, people probably have not had a chance to look at this if you were not the board. Let me move my screen over and put that back in front of me, 3 monitors away. Does anybody have any questions about the annual report or the final financial report at this time?
Nobody ever has any questions because you do such a good job in understanding what we don't understand at all.
Thank you, George.
About that trip to the Galapagos that you took.
I know nothing.
Okay.
As always, treasurer at koha-US.org if you do have anything that you would like to talk to me about. It's hard to believe I've been doing this for this organization now for really about 4.5 years. George will remember the story. I think he might have been there. Heather came up to me after I had been elected treasurer and said, "Here." And she handed me a single folder of sunflower bank materials. And it's just kind of taken off from there. It's been a privilege to continue to be associated with this group, despite the fact that I'm no longer at a Koha library. We talk about adopting it and then my members squawk and then we don't. So, but it's continued to be a pleasure to work with this group and support its initiatives.
I do remember that, except I remember that it was Robin and not Heather.
Oh, did I say Heather?
Yeah, you did.
Oh my, I meant Robin. I totally meant Robin.
We just like to blame Heather for things.
Well, the
That's all we got.
being-
I will say that for people that join, I will communicate separately with George if they join within the voting window so that George can send them the Survey Monkey link so that they can vote right away. For people that are paying by check, I add you as soon as I get the check, even though it takes me about a month to actually make it to the bank to deposit the check. But if you pay by PayPal, hey, things are really quick. I make it a goal generally to have membership turned around with payment within 2 business days. I'm going to tighten that up if I can to like within a few hours. For the new members that are worried that they might not get a chance to vote on this, I work very diligently when there's something to vote on to make sure that new members are added right away and that they can be included within the voting process.
Thank you,
John, the problem is that you're so good at this, we really don't want to let you go. And we will not.
Whoever has to take over membership when I leave will cry because it's become really developed. And I don't know that a lot of people will think the way I do, but it's the way I think. And it's the way I've basically run things from year to year to year after 2019, which was really the year that the process I've got right now has been in place.
Didn't the board decide at some point that that position is going to become a blood in, blood out position?
I don't know, but I'll ask when I go to the Red Cross in a few days.
And John, if we actually attend a conference together, I will happily take you to lunch.
Excellent.
On me. As long as you don't order lobster and $200 bottle of
George,
champagne.
can we get lobster and $200 bottles of wine in Lawrence?
I don't know. I don't eat that kind of crap.
Don't you just love generosity with conditions?
Okay, I'll take you to the finest place where you, if you tip, I'll tip the maitre d' so we can get a seat at the counter.
Score.
Okay, so we have no fundraising, so we've got no report. So we're right at 11:32. So we're going to end this meeting, and anyone who's on the conference committee and board members that can attend, we will start that as soon as I can stop this recording. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And next general meeting is March 9th.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
This is the kind of Zoom or